Hi, good evening, dear professor. I am going to introduce the topic of my master's thesis, language control during sentence production. Here is the overview of my presentation. I will first introduce the motivation that led to my current study and as well as some findings in the current literature. After that, I will uh, talk about research question and the methodology. For the methodology, I will describe it with the following aspects. After that is references. My study focuses on the language control, which refers to the um, cognitive process and the mechanisms that allow bilingual individuals to use and manage multiple languages in their daily use. More specifically, language control involves selecting and inhibiting word and grammatical structures from one language when using another languages. So, um, what I try to do in this study is to provide new insights to the gaps of current language, cultural literature, control literature. When you take a look at the studies that have been made, most of them are concerned with reactive language control, and only a small number of um, papers and studies that has discussed about the proactive language culture area. So in this study, we will focus on the first thing is the proactive language control. And the first gap I would like to mention here is about single word production. The evidence that has been discussed so far in favor of proactive language control is all based on studies that investigating single word production. Um, it was still unclear whether proactive language control is implemented during bilingual sentence production, giving the evidence for it was little and sometimes contradictory. And furthermore, the vast majority of studies investigates proactive language control, mainly from the perspective of language mixing course and reverse language order effects. Very few studies try to test um, proactive language control in terms of blocked language order effects. Actually, the effects entails the single language blocked performance is worse after performing in a single language block in another language. So from this above literature, I found out my research question. Is there proactive language control in second language sentence production? If there is, does plugged language order effects affects language control during sentence production? In order to answer this question, I performed an experiment on one group of Chinese and English speakers. Actually, this experiment itself was designed after the one done by Declercq and the author in 2021. Um, it's a network of images collected by lines, as we can see on the slides here. Um, and what the participants have to do is to describe the path taken by this red dot of different images. And we will test 30 bilinguals. Actually, It is noted that all these speakers that we're choosing are not balanced bilinguals. So English is not their first language. It's supposed to be the second or third language if they speak dialect as their first language. Prior for this is a experiment choice. We try to provide two versions. So 50% will do the version one, and the remaining 15 participants will do the version two. And this is try to avoid external factors in the real experiment. Uh, all the participants will need to fill in a questionnaire about their Chinese and English proficiency and the background, I mean language background prior to the experiment. All of the participants also receive an email with recorded instruction. They also have one example of the networks to know what they have to do, and the two practice networks for them, and help them to get familiar with the task before they uh, really start the task and record the voice in the experiment. They are all told to use full sentences as much as they can. And in the full sentence, it has to contain three information at least: the direction the red dot takes, as well as the types of lines and the objects in the pictures. Per text has 15 networks. It has three blocks. In the first and third blocks, six networks will be provided in each blocks in Chinese. And in the second block, it has three networks in English. And then noted here that non-cognate cognates are provided both Chinese and English. Right now, I am still in the stage of data collection. So currently, I don't have any preliminary results that are sufficient to be included in the presentation. And as I said, I'm still collecting data. So I hope that with current measures, it will not take more than 3 weeks to get all the data, but we will see. And for the analyzing part, we're going to use three main factors, which has been used in the decalogue and the co-author in 2021 experiments, which are field pauses, language intrusions, and error rates to analyze the data. And lastly is the limitations. Since it's remote testing, so we are not able to observe the participants when they're taking the task. They might cheat and stop the video on record and record the video again. But from the several recordings that I have gotten, that does seem to be the case. And in the following tests, I will also stress the importance that not to cheat during the real experiments. Another two methodology issues I would like to talk about here is one is fatigue or boredom. Participants might perform worse in the second block, regardless of whether a different language is used in the first block. Consequently, the blocked language order effects might be attributed to process other than proactive language control. On the other hand, training effects might occur, which would diminish or uh, any blocked language order effects. So we are trying to find the ways to guaranteeing our data to be more accurate and precise and reasonable. Here are the reference lists. And thanks for your attention and have a nice day.